Now on RTE1, the first of a new series of Primetime Investigates looks at planning and asks, are councillors putting the interests of the landowners ahead of the common good?
All over the country, councillors elected by us are making planning decisions that benefit a few but blight the lives of many.
Professional planners draw up plans and then councillors come along and they bulldoze their way into them.
This is a massive power which councillors exercise.
Landowners can make millions by persuading councillors to rezone their land for development. And it's ordinary citizens who are left bewildered.
They've never ever given any answers.
And hoping for change.
They're really tired of these kind of medieval princelings going around and zoning the land, controlling politics and controlling business.
Tonight, Primetime Investigates the Pressure Zone. Councillors, we elect them, then forget them. We pay them around 50 million a year, but is it money well spent? The evidence we've uncovered suggests that many councillors seem to use what power they have to benefit the lucky few rather than the broader community.
What they're supposed to do is to represent the common good, but I rarely, if ever, see them getting passionate about the common good. I see them getting very vexed and very passionate about individual parcels of land, which are often detrimental to the common good.
I think councillors are relating to a pressure that is coming from the landed interests.
But when individual landowners' interests are favoured over the common good, the results can be dire for the rest of us.
The social consequences of bad planning are horrendous, and we are paying an enormous price socially for that bad planning.
It normally takes an hour and 40 minutes or so.
The water will be on for an hour, maybe an hour and a half if we're lucky.
I can see the school from my front door and I can't get my son into it.
Coming in this late in the evenings and just getting 40 minutes with my children. I couldn't see myself doing it forever.
There are no services, the footpaths don't join up, there's nowhere for the children to play, there are no support facilities, there's no public transport or any hope of it arriving.
Councillors, of course, aren't experts in planning, and that's why we pay professionals good money to advise them. But the professionals don't make the decisions.
All in favour?
Aye.
Aye.
You have the professional planners standing up and battling for dear life to get what they think is for the common good. And then you have councillors proposing this amendment and that amendment.
County Monaghan, for good or bad, has seen little of the frantic development that's transformed Gorey and so many other parts of the country. But with new roads came new opportunities and new dangers.
With the new M1 motorway, the south of the county is 50 minutes from Dublin Airport, and the county is just over 40 minutes from North County Dublin.
New road networks are under construction nationwide, so what happened in Monaghan could happen anywhere. Accents will vary, but attitudes remain constant.
The extent of the rezonings was mind-boggling. They were providing for a tripling of the population of Monaghan. Now, no community can sustain a tripling of the population.
Just weeks in office, John Gormley intervened, using powers from the 2000 Planning Act to order a reduction in the amount of land zoned. This power was used just once before, when Dick Roche threw out County Laois's plan last year. Monaghan, where the overwhelming majority of councillors voted through scores of controversial land zonings, seemed certain to follow.
They have, by and large, as I understand it, completely ignored the professional advice that's been brought to them, and consistently done so.
The planners in Monaghan said, don't do this, don't go ahead, it doesn't make sense, and their advice was ignored. Now, I'm the minister responsible. I was not going to ignore their advice, and therefore I decided to intervene.
And in Monaghan, as elsewhere, landowners seeking to boost the value of their land piled on the pressure.
All councillors were approached and lobbied, and I felt that pressure.
The county manager warned councillors not to yield to such pressure and asked them to give proper planning reasons for their decisions.
There's not a hill on it that if it's suitable for sewerage, well then it should be suitable for development.
I haven't heard a planning rationale, a planning justification, a planning argument put forward and how this could possibly be in the best interest of the county to potentially triple the population without any infrastructural supports.
In making development plans, councillors should take into account wider government planning policies like the National Spatial Strategy as well as regional guidelines. These are considered critical to orderly development nationwide, but as they aren't obligatory, councillors frequently ignore them, as they did in Monaghan.
Well, that's unacceptable, and that's why I say for any councillor to behave in that way, to ignore what the planners are saying, to ignore the best advice in relation to planning is quite simply irresponsible.
Wherever you look around the country, you'll find inexplicable decisions taken by councillors in relation to zonings, and some of the land councillors wanted to rezone in Monaghan was as unlikely as any. Take the floodplain of the Dromore River in Ballybay, for example. Against all the advice of the planners and the county's water engineers, councillors tried to zone this land for major development.
It's a big area now that it gets the flood. As we look out the back, you just think you're at the seaside. It's like a big lake there, and it's covered with swans swimming around on it. You see, the river's in the middle of it and it overflows and causes the flooding.
The county manager strongly recommended against zoning this land, which he said was particularly prone to flooding.
The senior planner advised members that that proposal, if it came to fruition and if it were developed on, he said in some cases it would flood other houses in the area.
We did have the evidence that it wouldn't flood further down. And it's only very rarely that the floodplains did occur in Ballybay town.
The land out the back is always flooding. It would flood at least 3 times a year, and it comes right up to the bottom of our yard.
Has it always been like that?
Yes, it has, but recently I think it has got worse.
Despite the warnings, 18 out of 19 councillors voted to rezone the floodplain for residential and other development, and it was a similar story elsewhere in the county.
Connans is a very small village, some would call it a hamlet, outside Clonus, the Cavan Road, basically a church and a chapel and some houses in the area. What was envisaged and what was in the cards for Connans was a quadrupling of the population without any provision for corresponding infrastructure.
Connans has 26 occupied houses, and 2 large parcels of land were proposed for rezoning here. In relation to just one of them, the chief planner warned it would add between 250 and 300 houses, with a potential population of 1,000, all in an area where the roads were seriously substandard.
It's a farming community and there's no employment, so everyone would have to commute to nearby towns or to the cities for work.
Tom Conlon runs the social club here. He's secretary of the Fianna Fáil Common and a member of the parish committee, and he led the fight against proposals to rezone almost 60 acres of land, enough to overwhelm Connans' creaking infrastructure.
There would be no facilities for them. There's no shop, no public transport, poor roads, a small school that can only accommodate about 30, and that'll be it.
It's a very narrow road. We can't pass, 2 cars cannot pass on it. The very narrow bridges as you see there, so definitely not suitable at all.
My firm belief is that the Minister and the Green Party are intent on taking people out of rural County Monaghan and forcing them to live in towns or outside, into regional urban centres outside of County Monaghan altogether.
Whether that's so or not, the amount of land left zoned here means Monaghan, with all its new roads, could still be at the mercy of commuter-style development. And if the Minister has ignored flawed zoning in one county, what hope the rest of the country, where experts say more intervention is needed?
The Minister's intervention is not a surprise, and it won't be the only one. There will be other councils where this will happen, and it needs to happen.